My phone.
All right, phone's good then. Are we looking?
Camera's on. I'm running right over. Okay.
Sup?
Sup?
We're live.
We are live.
Live.
Yes. Good
I'm Steve.
Yeah, good evening, buddy. I, of course, Mark Mendoza. And this is kind of like a combination show tonight of, let's see, what should we call it? Should we call it
The
22 Jump Cut?
the Jump Cut 22 Now edition.
Yeah, Jump Cut. I was referring to the TV show 22
Jump Street.
Yeah, I guess
Oof.
that didn't work so well. Yeah, I've never seen it. You know that?
You never saw the show?
Never saw it. Never.
Wasn't it 21 Jump Street? And then they did 22 Jump Street, which is the movie sequel?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you. I've never seen it.
You never saw it?
Never seen it.
Okay. So
seen it.
This week, we just want to wish Nigel well. He's feeling a little under the weather.
Nigel's not feeling well, and that's not good.
He's a little down with the sickness.
He's down with the sickness. You know, it's going around.
Ooh,
I know a couple of friends that didn't come out of the house today.
I was almost one of them.
Yeah, you're almost one of them.
That's
but it
not
wasn't
because
of sickness.
Yeah.
It was his mental sickness.
Exactly. You got it.
Exactly. The dark child. So anyway, Stephen and I are going to entertain you tonight with a couple of thoughts on some movies, some TV shows, some things that influenced us, some memories about growing up watching TV or seeing movies. I think that's what we're really going to try to keep it to. But we can deviate a little bit from that. All right?
We could.
We can. We easily.
Next week for you guys, I did watch The Kitchen. I watched Dora, and I watched what else? Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So next week I'm going to pile that on to next week's episode because next week we got a big episode coming up.
Right.
A lot of huge.
So
films
we're not
coming
going to talk about those today.
No, we'll hold off.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Then that's fine.
It's okay. They're not really worth talking about except for Scary Stories. Watch Scary Stories.
Yeah.
It's a cozy movie.
Good.
It's cozy.
Cozy, as he says.
Cozy movie.
I never heard someone call a movie cozy.
I mean, it's a pretty cozy. Have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No.
That's a pretty cozy movie.
Is it really?
Have you seen The Big Lebowski?
Yes.
That's a cozy movie.
You think so?
Yeah.
You would call it cozy?
It's like one of those movies where you're just kind of hanging out, you know?
Okay.
You're hanging out
like
with the
the
cast.
character in the movie,
Yeah.
The Big Lebowski.
You're just kind of chilling, you know, they're doing their thing.
Right.
But a lot of Tarantino movies are kind of like that.
I don't know. Pulp Fiction wasn't like that.
Pulp Fiction was kind of like that when they're in the diner. You're just kind of hanging out with them.
Yeah, but there's always action and stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood had like the least amount of action in his movies.
Did it?
Yeah. Maybe on par with Jackie Brown.
Oh yeah, I've seen Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown is pretty low on the action scale.
Yeah, I guess it is.
So, but yeah, I guess when we wanted to do the show, I used to do something like this when I was in high school. When I was in high school for about 4 years on the high school radio station, I used to do a show with my friend Kayla Hurwitz.
I'm still in high school.
I can tell.
40 years later.
4 years later, still never finished 9th grade.
No, 10th grade.
10th grade.
Give me a little credit.
You got some credit.
There you go.
About 12 credits.
About 12.
But I did it for about 4 years with my friend Kayla Hurwitz. We reviewed just a bunch of movies as they came out. I worked in a movie theater at the time.
That's right, you did. You told me you
yeah,
did
so
a movie theater.
I got free movies constantly, and I just took advantage of it.
Popcorn.
I sold popcorn.
Popcorn.
Never again. I wouldn't wish that
again.
job my worst enemy.
Really? Was it that bad?
It was just like, so picture like public service, plus everyone's kind of complaining to you about the prices. So when I'm just sitting there and like just constantly getting yelled at about like, oh, why does this popcorn charge so much? I'm like
you have any control over it.
Don't shoot the messenger, man.
Right. You're not even the messenger. You're just giving them their popcorn.
Yeah. I remember this one guy who was a restaurant owner. It's like, man, what's your profit margins like? I'm like, if I knew my profit margins, I wouldn't be wearing this apron.
You're right. You wouldn't be working here if you knew profit margins. Right. And it's not in your control.
No.
They got to go a little higher up on the popcorn chain, right?
Yeah, I mean, and then on top of that, the managers, it was like a little bit of a clique type deal. They picked favorites. So if you weren't a favorite, you didn't get good hours.
There you go.
Right here, I get all the hours. So
yeah, you get all the hours.
I guess I got the opposing issue.
That's true. The opposing issue.
Yeah.
So let's go on to a little bit of subject matter here. What is a movie that influenced you growing up?
In what respect?
You always remember it. You occasionally think about it, and it didn't have to change your life or anything. But what is something that really stayed in your mind, and why?
There's a kind of a few. I remember Limitless with Bradley Cooper. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't.
Limitless was a movie. I remember I saw it instead of seeing this movie called Project X, which is like a movie about this big party. Mm-hmm. So I remember I saw the movie. It's basically starring Bradley Cooper, who takes a pill called NZT48 about what would happen if you use 100% of your mind. Like if you had 100% access.
I believe I saw that.
Yeah,
Yes.
because you normally have about, I think, 30% access to it.
Something like that. Well, most people I know it's more like about 0.01%.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, absolutely. Not you. No, definitely.
Have you heard the way these shows sound? Guilty as charged. No, but when I saw it, I just remember I was thinking mainly on the premise of like a guy who was literally living through nothing. And the way I kind of saw it was more he applied himself.
Okay.
And applying himself and self-motivating was more the answer to his problems than having the knowledge behind it.
Sure.
Like, sure, he was able to speak all these languages from books that he read and stuff like that. But it's just like, I found just the concept behind that much more interesting.
Really? Did it influence you at all?
No, I think
It was just something you remember.
I think the movies that influenced me the most, aside from that, I think The Dark Knight was one of them.
Okay.
When I first saw The Dark Knight, the incredible performance from Heath Ledger,
Right.
it kind of showed me how much can go behind the scenes in a film.
Sure.
And what else? I would say Django Unchained.
Oh, really?
Have you seen that movie?
Yes, I have.
That movie was just such a fun movie. I just don't remember having that much fun in a theater before that.
You saw it at theater, huh?
Yeah, I saw it. That was my first Tarantino movie on the big screen.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
But what about
great
you?
Stuff. Oh, for me,
because you had me watch what's it called? That first Tarantino movie. Was it True Romance?
Oh, True Romance.
True Romance.
Yeah, that's that's a very memorable movie for me. I mean, the lineup of characters and actors in that movie was incredible. I mean, big names, and every scene seemed to be more intense than the one in front of it.
Yeah,
you know, it was not. There wasn't a
Gary Oldman's performance.
Oh
my
as
God.
a white Rastafarian. Oh, amazing.
Considering last time I saw Gary Oldman was in The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight,
where he played Commissioner Gordon.
He certainly did.
Kind of a shift.
Yes, it's kind of a shift.
A little bit.
Everybody played such a great role in the movie, and all of the scenes were intense. And it didn't seem like that Quentin Tarantino backed down on intensity or the possibility that he might insult certain people.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, the scene between Christopher Walken and Dennis Hopper in the trailer. That's insane. What Dennis Hopper says to Christopher Walken is it's nuts. I mean, he knew he was going to die in the scene, and he just let him have it.
He threw out his last leg.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's brutal stuff. It's great. Every scene was good. Definitely a favorite movie of mine because I watched it. I watched the movie with actually a girl I was dating at the time, and we would. Twice a week, we would bring home movies. Remember, this is when we watched movies on VHS tapes. Okay?
I hated those things.
Yeah. I mean,
growing up and then
that's how long ago
getting
this
from
was.
Blockbuster and
You're
having to
talking about
rewind it
this
because
is
you got
in
spoiled at the
early
ending.
'90s. DVDs still weren't big yet. So we would rent a couple of movies, and once in a while I'd have to watch a girly movie. Once in a while, which I'd probably fall asleep through, and. We'd have dinner, maybe like on a Tuesday night, and we were both musicians, so we worked on weekends.
Yeah.
So we went around on a weekend, or maybe a Sunday night. So I remember we watched, what did I watch? It wasn't that bad. Fried Green Tomatoes. On a Tuesday, ever heard of it?
No.
Fried Green Tomatoes.
What's that?
It's a girly movie.
Okay.
And it wasn't that bad. It was interesting. In the movie, I don't want to ruin it for anybody. In the movie, they would flop back between. It wasn't about time travel, so I don't want anybody to think. But they would go from modern times to somebody telling the story to what it looked like back in the. I guess that took place in the 40s or early 50s. The movie, so it was very cool how they did that. The time period stuff, very well made movie.
Was it like a '90s film?
It was out in the 90s.
Okay.
But I believe it was the Sunday following the Tuesday. Walk in the house and we brought in dinner, and she put a movie on the table. It's a True Romance. I said, True Romance? Come on, another girl. She goes, she obviously had seen it already, and wanted to bring home a movie that I would like. She goes, you give this movie 15 minutes, and if you don't want to watch it, we'll turn it off.
That's what you said to me. That's what you said to me and Nigel.
Yeah.
I think Nigel already saw it.
Did he?
But I didn't see it in that movie.
So I watch it, and it comes in, and it starts, and it's not incredibly out of control at all in the beginning. It's pretty calm.
Yeah.
But you get this feeling that, okay, this is going to go someplace.
Yeah.
And it does. And when it takes off after the first couple of scenes, it doesn't slow down.
It's like a Bonnie and Clyde type deal.
Yes, similar, but
kind of like that's. I think that's where they drew the inspiration.
I believe that it was also James Gandolfini's first tough guy movie, where he played, what he actually ended up being, in The Sopranos, and it was an incredible fight scene in a hotel room. And it was just Patricia Arquette and James Gandolfini fighting in a hotel room.
I remember that scene. My brother actually.
Just a sick scene. It was great.
I was watching it. My brother popped in the room when I was watching it, and he's just looking. He's like, "Oh, I love this scene," because he just heard what was going on.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, "Yo, watch this."
So to me, that's a very memorable movie. It was a great. I mean, everything's a great time in my life. I can't say there was too many bad ones. I mean, you have them occasionally, but I remember it well. Especially the surprise that I had when it was put in the True Romance. Really, you want me to watch this? Are you kidding?
Yeah, and that was before. Like,
she says to me, every movie you see has to have helicopters blowing up and trains crashing and cars flipping over and burning. And I said, well, that's pretty much it. And, shots fired and all kinds of things like that. But anyway, that was very good. Another movie. I don't know if it was necessary. It didn't really influence me at all, but it was very memorable. Of course, I grew up. I'm a child of the late '60s through the '70s and '80s. Everybody knows my history, being into music and everything, and also
into music.
Of course. So being into cars, hot rod cars, and motorcycles. When I was in high school. And I believe the movie came out, which I didn't say the name of it yet. I think it came out in '71 or '72. Maybe a little after that. It certainly wasn't. It was before 1974. And there was a remake, I believe, in the late '90s. But the original movie called Vanishing Point.
Oh.
Okay. One of the first car chase movies where the police chase someone delivering a car, and the movie was loosely based on a real event that happened years before with some kid who drove across some states in the West and made it to California, and I believe he crashed or something like that. But it was very loosely based on that. It was more just a Hollywood script with great characters. I mean, it was a very low-rate movie. It was like a B or a C-rated movie. They didn't put a lot of money into it. They didn't have any. But what I liked about it, what it depicted at the time, was what the southwest of this country looked at the time: wide open spaces, people who kind of made the desert home, and just miles and miles of wide open road and police chases. And some of the jargon that they used in the movie was so Hollywoodish and so cheap, but it worked out. It worked out really well. I mean, there was a DJ, a black DJ in the movie, played by Cleavon Little, who he was blind in the movie, and he was phenomenal. He was great, really was. Have you seen this movie?
I saw it once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember any of this
Barely.
stuff? It just great. So, and the town that he was in, obviously they couldn't build a set. They didn't have the money, so they used towns that looked like this. I mean, tons of grass growing through the cracks in the sidewalks, and just abandoned buildings and ghost towns around it. It was all real. It was great. It was all real. So, growing up and seeing that movie, I watched that movie probably once a year. I just enjoyed it. It represented the time that I was going through, the time period I was going through at that point in my life, which was great. I was just getting heavily into music, and I loved hot rod cars and all that. So it stayed with me a lot. And of course, you couldn't rent a movie because there was no renting at that time. Remember, I'm old.
Yeah.
Kind of dinosaur old.
You're like about 1300.
I'm 142. So you had to go when it came out. It was in the movie theaters, and we would all, everybody from high school would sneak into the theater at one point or another and get to see the movie multiple times. So that was also fun too at the time. And so Vanishing Point is one. Something else that's kind of close to me, of course, going through school, and you're in social studies and learning history, and we were being taught, the events in World War II. And of course, both my parents were over there for World War II. They didn't know each other at the time. My father was a Basta of Bastogne, 101st Airborne, and my mom was in the Red Cross. And so when my social studies teacher said, you have to go see this movie Patton, whenever you can, you go out and see it. Of course, it was about General George Patton, who was the commander, the commander of the Third Army, mostly the Third Army in World War II. It was a movie about the man, not so much about the war, but it was a movie about the person and the man, and he won all kinds of awards for the movie, which he never accepted. I don't know why. I don't remember. Such a long time ago. But in any case, I'll make this a little shorter. Anyway, I had asked, I went to my mom and said, the teacher wants me to go see Patton. Can I ask Dad? And my mom said, no, you really shouldn't. He doesn't like to talk about it or deal with this stuff anymore. But lo and behold, about 3 weeks later, I was supposed to go fishing with my father, and the weather was horrible, and he said, go back to sleep. When I woke up, he said, there's a matinee at Patton, and we're going to go see it. And I discussed it with him briefly, and he goes, no, you know what I can do? If you're learning about this stuff, I'll tell you what's Hollywood and what's real, and I've told this story many times before in various interviews and shows, but, I was really proud of my father that he was able to serve like that. But make a long story short, the fact that he actually took me to the movie and said, that's not real, that's Hollywood, and he said, to a few important scenes, I was there, and that's what happened. When Patton had to go rescue the airborne in the city of Bastogne, the town of Bastogne. They never asked to be rescued, but they sent them in anyway. They rescued them. And, when they showed that scene, they used some real footage in the movie. They showed that scene, I saw my father tear. And that was rough. That was real. I never saw. Obviously, my father was a tough character. He really was. And he spoke like this. There was no two ways about it. You think James Earl Jones has a big voice? My father had a huge voice, and so he was a tough character. And I think World War II toughened him up even more. And he was a tough Brooklyn kid with all his friends too that went. So, but that movie stuck with me because it was something I did with my father. And I've gone to other movies with him too. but something like that. And then the other thing that stuck with me too, because when HBO came out with the miniseries Band of Brothers, I didn't see it. It's not that I didn't want to watch it. I'm not a big TV or movie watcher. I'm really not. But somebody eventually. That's now, it was a Marine actually said, you should watch that. Your father had something to do with that. And when I watched it, I realized that was my father's unit in World War II in Band of Brothers.
Wow.
So it was very cool seeing that. So that stuck with me. It's not that I'm a war fanatic or anything. I'm not. Just seeing those kind of things. But you see so many things, you forget about it. But those are things I remembered. Growing up in movies and TV shows that I remembered because it had something to do with my family or my father or my mom or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I have connections to movies like that.
No, you probably don't.
I had my dad take me to see Defiance, that Daniel Craig movie about World War II.
Absolutely.
It was a cool movie. He's like, oh, you need to understand what was going on here. I'm like, well, growing up in a Jewish neighborhood, you just keep getting taught the same thing about World War II every year. And at that point, I'm like, all right, I'm a little burned out on this topic. Like, that's why when I watch movies, listen to music, it's for like escapism. That's why I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It was a time I wasn't alive during.
You just said an important statement here. Most movies are an escape from reality. Most people don't want to go see it because it's reality. It might be reality, but it's still entertainment, and it takes them away. You forget, usually when you're seeing a good movie or a good show, you forget about what's going on in your life if there's something bad or even good, and you're ingrained in what you're watching and listening to, and which is important, because whether it's a TV show or a movie or a stage show or a play or a ballet or you're seeing an orchestra, if it's entertaining you, if it feels that good and means that much to you, you forget about everything else around you, and that's important.
I try to do that with my music too, and like when I'm writing my lyrics, my bandmates want me to touch upon like more real things. I'm like, let me just tell stories. If I tell a story, it's something that someone could probably find some relatable content in, and then move on from there.
Yeah.
But like, I was actually going back through my old catalog of music, and I don't know if you know this album from 2006 from My Chemical Romance called The Black Parade.
Absolutely, yeah.
So have you listened to it?
Parts of it, I've heard it. Yeah.
I went back and listened to it in its entirety for the first time in over a decade. The album came out 13 years ago.
Okay.
And what's so interesting about it is it touches upon the concept of death. Basically, it starts off with a song called "The End" and "Dead," where the doctor is saying to this patient, "You're dead. You have 2 weeks to live, and then that's it." And the entire rest of the album is just the patient coming to terms with it, and then going to hell and back.
And that's got to be a rough thing if you have some sort of terminal illness and your doctor or doctors tell you, hey, you just got a couple weeks left.
Yeah, but it was like that was my I think second encounter with a concept album. I guess it's my second. My first one was American Idiot by Green Day.
Oh, okay.
But
sure.
When I was listening to it, it has like so many inspirations from like Pink Floyd's The Wall and just like and Queen and all that stuff. It's insane. And now coming back to it later on, you have a newfound appreciation for it. And I found that with movies too that I've been doing. Like coming back to movies, seeing them tackle a lot of real topics and like big issues that I never really noticed before. Like when I saw Boys in the Hood with Nigel, when I was like reviewing that,
right?
It was a movie that I never really, I took it as like a good movie, but it really wasn't something that kind of really resonated with me too much for the layers that they did. But then when I saw it again in an older, more matured age, it meant like a whole new, different dynamic to me. And I just want to say hello to Moose and Vinny for tuning in. But yeah, that's like. That's what I find really interesting about a film is like it could be an escape, but it could also be a way to say something that you can't otherwise say. Like the job of a creative person is to basically you give them your money to do something that you can't do or say.
That's part of it, sure. Absolutely, that's part of it.
That's like for example, with Twisted, with "We're Not Going to Take It" and like those big ballad kind of songs. You were the voice of people who couldn't say those things.
It's funny you're talking about that. I did. I've been in a bunch of public places in the last couple of weeks, and one of the last shows that I did with another band, which was just this past Sunday, I had. After we played, I had a lot of people come up to me and say, a lot, 10 to 12 out of the I can't tell you dozens and dozens of autographs and pictures that I took, but a good handful of those people came and said your songs in TS were influential in my life and helped me get through some bad times. And besides just entertaining people, it makes you feel great.
Yeah,
you know that what you did and what you represented in those songs makes people feel good and helps them when they don't feel good, and even when they do. But yeah, a lot of people say that over the course of time, a lot of people say that the songs help them through a rough time in their life, which is important. Yeah.
And it was interesting because I was watching, because Tarantino has like a lot of heat on him right now on the whole Bruce Lee thing. I think I mentioned that to you.
Yeah,
with his portrayal of Bruce Lee as a caricature. And because of that, the SEO for Quentin Tarantino is through the roof. Everything that like it appears on my YouTube feed or something like that. I think it's also because I was watching all those Tarantino films, but like everything's just Tarantino. So, and I was watching actually an interview with him with people like, because people are going to him saying this kind of similar things, but I don't know how you can really get that from a Tarantino film. Like Tarantino films are like bloody, enjoyable action kind of thing. Like I don't know how much you can really get out of a conversation talking about a quarter pounder with cheese in France.
I think a lot of it's also tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
you know, it's also tongue in cheek. It's not
but
just
I guess it's
violence.
an escape factor.
It's an escape factor, but he builds in certain, not that they're important messages, but he builds in messages in his movies by certain lines that are said at certain times in the movie, and it's not only about gore and blood and guts. And
well, no, clearly if you saw Jackie Brown or Once Upon a Time or Hateful Eight,
sure,
from most of Hateful Eight,
right, most of it, sure. Without a doubt, I'm thinking back now on a few movies. I mean, you look at Pulp Fiction, and some of it, there's parts in the movie that really don't make sense.
Well, yeah, because that's a movie that doesn't make sense until you really see the end.
The end.
Yeah, because it's a disjointed narrative.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
It's something that just kind of growing up and like watching those kinds of things. Because the first Tarantino movie I saw, I was like 16, and when I was 16, I was going through my angsty phase. So I'm just like, yeah, blood, guts, gore, and I was getting into horror films and things like that. And I'm like, but kind of growing up, I just see there's more to it. And one thing that I found interesting listening to interviews about Django Unchained is that people signed onto the project because they knew Tarantino wasn't afraid of like gore and violence when doing a movie about slavery. Well, not about slavery, but with the slavery as the backdrop.
As backdrop, sure.
It's kind of that's what made people interested to be part of it.
Of course.
And that movie is interestingly polarizing. I think a lot of it because of like the abuse towards women and like dropping the N-bomb, stuff like that 110 times in the movie. And
sometimes a movie can wake up your thoughts about what life is really about and what goes on in life, and that movie does. Yeah, it certainly does.
With the Mandingo fight scene.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that was just brutal.
It was brutal, absolutely brutal. So, shall we move on?
Yeah.
You want to cover some more television and movies or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. I know a show that heavily impacted me was Breaking Bad.
You know that I have never seen that?
I thoroughly recommend it to anyone watching to see Breaking Bad.
I've heard that from a lot of people, and I'll have to get to it one of these days.
Because just the way I see Breaking Bad is because it wasn't a book or anything first. It's entirely a story by Vince Gilligan.
Right.
And it's just basically, I'd consider it a masterclass in cinematic television. I think that it really kickstarted a lot of TV shows taking that cinematic approach. Because it's a show where, like, because I remember it was the final season, the final episode.
How many seasons are?
Only 5.
Breaking Bad's only 5?
Yeah.
I thought it was a lot longer than that.
But the last episode actually aired the same night as the last episode of Dexter.
Oh, really?
And I just remember when I was talking to people about it, you can feel when Breaking Bad's coming to an end just by like the heightened drama and what's going on and like the character development and the plot and everything.
Would we ruin it if I say what I think it's about?
No, but let me just finish this. And then when Dexter was coming to an end, you had no idea if it was coming to an end or not.
Yeah, true. I heard that.
The final episode was a mess. It's just basically Dexter just riding into a fucking hurricane and then just ending. It just doesn't. It didn't really have a meaning to the end. And
do you think it'll come back again?
I doubt it. Michael C. Hall, I remember saying in interviews, like it's an ending that some fans will like, a lot of fans won't like, and I don't care which ones don't like it.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm just like, that is such a stupid perspective on something.
It is if you care about your fans.
Because you have fans riding with you for 8 seasons. And for you to just straight up say you don't care, that's kind of like a dick move, especially when your show's.
I guess he got tired of maybe doing it.
Maybe.
and didn't care. He just wanted to get out. Which is unfortunate because you'd never leave people hanging like that if there really could be an ending.
If there was an ending, but he left it somewhat open.
Right.
Just a slight bit open.
Well, maybe that's because he will come back with something.
Hey, Janine, thanks for tuning in. But yeah, that's like so. But comparing that to Breaking Bad, so I would say Breaking Bad is a real masterclass in television, in cinematic television because of that.
You're not the only person that said it to me, so I got to get with the times and see that.
I'm convinced Nigel to watch it, but the only caveat is I got to watch The Wire too. And The
Wire, I've heard of that. I've never watched it.
It's a short show, but with the movies and everything, I got to like find time to watch it. I want to try and start it soon, so we can get a review in the next month or two before the big fall movies come out.
Right. So Breaking Bad, I think, is something about a high school teacher that starts manufacturing methamphetamines.
Yes.
Right. Something like that. I mean, I obviously know very little about it.
Basically, a high school teacher played by Bryan Cranston's name is Walter White. He finds out that he's been diagnosed with, I believe, cancer, and as a result, he needs to make money for his family, so his family would be well off, because he didn't want his wife and kids to go on without like any money or anything and have to pay the bills, and he wasn't really making that much at his job as a high school teacher. So he quit his job and then he threw everything into the wind, making methamphetamine, crystal meth essentially, because
crystal meth, yeah.
he didn't want to. He didn't care because he thought he was just going to die. And then as time was going on and he realized he had longer and longer to live, he kept going with it. And he was just really deep into everything. And he thought that when he died, that'd be it, and his family would have the money and that would be everything. But the show is just an increasing sense of tension throughout as each episode and each season continues.
Very cool.
Throughout the entire show, I'd say there's only one true episode of filler, but it kind of means something if you watch it to the end. But that whole episode just pissed me off. It's just them trying to catch a fly. That's the entire episode.
Catch a fly?
Yeah, because like, everything needs
chopsticks?
to be... No, it's just like everything needs to be pure, and they're like in the like lab, and they're just trying to catch a fly, and it just doesn't make... It was just stupid, but the meaning of it, I guess, kind of made sense. But just the show, though, was just... You have like Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston, who had such a brilliant dynamic with each other, and showing them evolve as characters and what money can do to someone and what the power can do to someone, you know?
Sure.
And he's going from like a nameless, faceless dude into someone that people are starting to recognize. And things are just becoming higher and higher stakes. And it's just watching that show is such like brilliant performances from just such great actors. It's something that really stuck with me for quite a few years.
Right.
And I was debating on going back to watch it. And in fact, I got to catch up on Better Call Saul, which is funny. On the last show we just aired, Tales from the Bottom of the Ocean, Mike was just saying that he never finished Breaking Bad and he never finished Better Call Saul because he quit Breaking Bad, watched Better Call Saul, never finished either.
Another one I've never seen, Better Call Saul.
It's a spin-off of Breaking Bad.
Is it any good?
It's a good show so far. I haven't finished it.
Okay.
And I don't think the show's not even done yet, but it's just... Breaking Bad is just such a piece of well-done television that I do recommend watching. It's like a really gripping show.
Well, because now you're also recommending it, I will somehow get through it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you watch like an episode or two, and you'll see kind of the value in it.
Sure, okay.
It's just what was hard for me at first is I was watching it, and it's hard for me to look past Bryan Cranston as the guy from Malcolm in the Middle, you know? That was really hard for me at first.
That's funny.
Because in the starting seasons, he looked pretty similar. The only difference is he had a mustache.
Right.
But then later on, he had
I've seen pictures and ads and things like that, so I was able to understand who the characters are. The main characters.
But like later on, he had a goatee and a shaved head, and like he was just kind of continuing through it. It was just such an interesting dynamic.
Okay, you convinced me. I'll watch it. Yeah,
but I don't even know. I'm trying to think of other shows. I really liked Walking Dead season one.
I'm really out of it because I've never seen any of it.
Walking Dead season 1 was pretty good, and it was because it was written by
a bunch of zombies, right?
It's basically a survival story with a zombie apocalypse as a backdrop. It's kind of like how humans are affected when an apocalypse approaches, and how some go insane and some become like friendly and whatever, and kind of the way they intermingle amongst each other. First season is really good because it was written alongside Robert Kirkman, the writer of the comics. And then they fired that director that season, who actually had some brilliant ideas for season 2 that he shared. And then they cut the budget, and they kept cutting the budget for each season. And then every season after that just became increasingly worse, and the same plot repeated. In fact, season 2, there was the arc with the farm, which it lasted for about 8 or 9 episodes, was really only about 3 or 4 issues in the comic. So they really dragged that out.
Wow.
It's just that show really fell from grace.
Watching that.
That show is just not good to me.
Yeah.
And people like get mad at me, and I'm like, I just don't like Walking Dead. But now, finally, people are starting to see what I saw years ago. Starting to see, oh, I just don't care anymore to watch it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. What's some of your most memorable shows?
TV shows?
Yeah, I know you really liked 7 Seconds.
You're talking about recent stuff. Yeah,
Well, just in general.
I fell into that show. I believe it's a Netflix show called 7 Seconds, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was great characters.
Hey, Gary, thanks for tuning in. Gary Tosh.
My cousin Gary.
Yeah.
Hey, Gary. I thought it was well made. The character development was great. It really was. And it kind of reflects upon what's going on these days in the world and in life. And unfortunately, a part of a corrupt police department. And it stayed with me. And I don't binge watch, so I couldn't watch the whole thing in one day. I don't really have enough time to watch a lot of television or movies. If I'm sitting still, as you've seen before, I'm sleeping.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a show, surprisingly, that stuck with me more after I reviewed it.
Yeah, it was. I liked the character development, and I really did. And I'm saying it a bunch of times because the characters, some of them in there, like the couple that played the child's parents, they were fantastic. They really were. And the young girl who played the ADA for the county they were in, she did, and her partner, who happened to be a detective from the department that it's about, he was great too. There wasn't wrong with anybody in the movie. It definitely reflected upon what we see as society today and the problems that go on. It really hit me. It hit hard. I mean, not that it's happened to me, but it was great. It was entertaining, and it felt like it was a reality-based show. Although I don't think it was based on any real facts.
No, it's a pretty loose show that could be really. It could have been an easily plausible thing.
Yeah,
easily,
easily,
and the way it kind of ended was kind of like a mark to society where the good guy doesn't always win.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So, I mean, that was on something else lately.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for tuning in.
Ron who?
Ryan.
Ryan.
Ryan DePaoli.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And Steve's also tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Steve's here already.
Yeah, Steve's here. I'm sorry, we're literally the same person, so it doesn't matter.
Stop texting yourself.
This is the guy from Steve Squared we do on Fridays.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
very
literally
good.
the same person. Hive mind.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I was going to bring up another one. I also like another show that's been, I think it's in its 5th season, and I believe it's an Amazon Prime show called Bosch.
Never heard of it.
Okay, it is. It's about a city of Los Angeles detective. It's about the police department. It's not. I don't think it's reality based. The character Bosch is extremely well played. He's a great actor, and even the intro music, which I believe was played by a famous trumpet player, Chris Bodie.
No.
Wrote the intro theme. It kind of makes you feel like that, and also the pictures of L.A. and the way they have the intro. It just sets up a feeling for the whole series. It's great stuff. But they're in the 5th season, and
it's still going.
What's that?
It's still going.
I believe the 5th season just came out a few months ago, which I haven't seen. I haven't had a chance.
Do you know if it's the last season or no?
I've seen for the first 4.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know if it's like the last season that they're doing?
I don't know. I really do not know. But well played. All the characters are great, and it's just fun. Again, I look at things for an entertainment value, and if I could get lost in it, then it's entertaining. If it takes you, if I don't think about anything else when I'm watching this or listening to it, to music or something, then to me it's got a great entertainment value. And Bosch happened to do it. He's kind of a. It's kind of. I might be saying the wrong thing, but he's kind of a modern day Dirty Harry, the Clint Eastwood character, but he's not. It's not like he goes around beating up people or shooting people or anything like that. He kind of has his own way of doing police work. You know, well respected, and some people fear him. But you know, he's had problems in his police career and stuff, and it kind of makes you feel like it reflects some reality and things like that. So I kind of like that show. It's called Bosch. It's on Amazon Prime. I enjoy it.
I'm sorry, I hear noises that I don't know what they are.
Well, that's that guy starting his sports car outside.
That is they need a new muffler.
Yeah, without a doubt, he needs a muffler. But I think it's supposed to do that.
Well, it's funny enough that you say it's funny enough that you say about like getting attached. I just watched this show. It's an Amazon Prime original called The Boys. I don't know if I mentioned this last time.
No, you didn't. I've heard of it.
So The Boys is basically about this guy who's dating his girlfriend gets basically trampled by a superhero. And he kind of grows for a vengeance to kind of take down these superheroes. And now the superheroes in this world, picture it like the Justice League. You know, you got like your Superman, and you got your Superman, you got your Aquaman, you got like that whole
Justice
kind of
League.
Pretty much. What if the Justice League was funded by like one of the top 10 Fortune 500 companies?
Oh, okay.
Has $1 billion budgets pumping out movies for them and video game brands and everything, and they're all assholes. Every single one is just a conceited prick, and that's what I find really interesting about the show. Is as I'm watching it, there's more and more stuff unfurling as you're like watching it, and it's just a bunch of normal guys just trying to get vengeance for like the ones they loved.
Right.
And it's just such an interesting perspective to see the superheroes be the supervillains in the show, and
interesting.
Yeah, it's just like. And on top of that, you have this.
I have to watch that one also.
And the superheroes in this are not called the Justice League or anything. They're called the Seven because there's 7 of them.
Right.
And then they have like this like Avengers Tower type thing, but it's just a 7 on it.
Okay.
And this one girl who joined it to become a superhero and help people, realized that she's just being a brand, and she's just being like used for a brand to make money.
Right.
So they're trying to give her movies. They're telling her you can't save this person unless this is happening. And a lot of superheroes are saying, well, that's not possible. So we're just gonna let these people die. You know, a lot of that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Like, just as I'm watching the show and I'm just seeing more and more of the stuff unfold as you're finding out more about the characters, it's just such an interesting perspective that I really haven't seen. And I didn't know it was apparently based on a comic book too, which I haven't read. But it's as a show, it's just something. It really didn't overstay its welcome. It was only about 8 episodes, I believe, and just each episode was 45 minutes, and it was just each episode had me engaged.
Right.
You know, it's not like I was forcing myself to move on to the next episode. It was just something that I was kind of watching when I was eating or when I was like going to bed or whatever, just something to throw on. But man, that show is intense.
I'll have to watch it.
And that between that, was it The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and The Man on High Castle? Those 3 shows are like really good shows, which are kind of really boosting Netflix's brand. Because you have Man in the High Castle, which is basically, what if America lost the World War? And Japan and Germany both won, and now they're at ends with each other, splitting the world, trying to figure out who owns what. And then you have like the American Resistance. That's pretty interesting. And then Marvelous Miss Maisel is a show based in the 20s about this girl who's trying to become a comedian in a world where she's literally just hated for being a woman. They're not going to like give her a chance for anything. And it's just such a genuinely funny show. Actually, I saw the premiere of that show because they aired the pilot, and then months later was the rest of season 1. Mm-hmm. But I saw that in the city with the cast, like then the whole production team for that, and I went to the party for it afterwards, and they're the nicest people. But just seeing that in theaters on the big screen was just such a funny experience, and I'm glad to play the first 2 episodes because I was really like engaged and I wanted to watch more. So it's just a show that I think really, it's yes, Ryan, it's on Amazon, The Boys, but just. Those kinds of shows, it just makes me glad that we're having this kind of content come out. And it makes me glad that we're entering a new era of television, because between Netflix, between Hulu, and the new Disney Plus service coming out, and Warner Bros. Service coming out, I don't think cable is going to really be a thing for much longer.
Who knows?
I mean, because you have
people made predictions about everything, and
you have like FX and those kind of companies, which are basically just charging for their channel individually as a streaming service.
Right.
So like, people are just kind of getting tired of watching commercials. People are getting tired of just kind of having to wait week after week for episodes to come out. We're in like a new era of instant gratification, which is a good and a bad thing. I prefer waiting a week for each episode because it gives a sense of camaraderie. You get together with your friends, you sit and watch it together, and you kind of just predict what's coming up. I mean, we just did that with Stranger Things season 3. We did our whole Stranger Things spoiler talk and what we expect to come next.
Right.
But like, you know, there's a difference between waiting a full year and waiting a week. Because, you know, when they're airing it week after week, it feels like there's less of a lull between the next season, you know?
Sure. But if you could binge watch a brand new season, let's say, or maybe you can, because I haven't done this that much, but just say Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when it came out, what was it on?
It was on AMC, so it was a week-by-week release.
Right, so it was week by week.
Even though I watched it just before season 5 came out, so I had to binge all those episodes.
You had to binge all those. You think you would, with the power of binge watching and be able to sit down and watch 4 or 5 episodes at one sitting, mm-hmm. you think you would enjoy it as much as you would waiting for that week for the next one?
I think it's just the power of each episode. If the episode gives you enough to hunger for a new episode, because what a lot of shows do now for the new binge format is at the end they give you like a little cliffhanger, a little tease, and then you're all right, next episode.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So like that's kind of what a lot of them are doing nowadays, which is good and bad. I mean, I'm not huge on the binge culture. I do enjoy saying, hey, this new season came out, let's get together and watch it. But it also kind of sucks is like, if you say someone, let's watch this movie, they're like, I don't want to dedicate 2 hours to this movie, but I will watch a couple episodes of the new Ozark series, you know? And that's an hour an episode, and that you can watch 4 episodes. It's 4 hours,
right?
Instead of watching a 2-hour movie.
I don't have that kind of a block of time to do that. I can't tell you when I have a block of time to watch 4 episodes of something in a row.
I usually don't. It's just mainly because for like the jump cut, I basically take time off. Like
oh, that's true. You have to review the stuff.
Yeah, I take like we watch these things, so you don't have to. Hint, hint, Dora. But stay tuned next week if you want to see that stuff. That movie is filmed in a 16:9 aspect ratio.
Really?
Yeah, not like the 21:9. Is it? Yeah, 21:9 like most movies are. This is a 16:9, like as if it was made for television, and then they're like, hey, let's try and release it in theaters. That movie bothered me, man.
Did it really?
It was not great and it wasn't bad.
Are you allowed to talk about it now?
I could. I don't
want to ruin it for you.
I'm gonna try and wait for next week. I mean,
I don't want to ruin it for you.
I guess I could talk briefly about it. I binged it in a week and loved it. Binging is bad though because once the season's over, you gotta wait forever to continue it. Yeah, exactly what I was saying. You gotta wait like a full year. And you have like Stranger Things, which waited over. It was like a year and a half between seasons,
right?
Because they wanted to release it on July 4th. Mm-hmm. But for Tomb Raider Light, yeah, I guess I'll briefly go into Dora. So Dora the Explorer, first of all, when I first mentioned the trailer, this is called Dora and the Lost City of Gold or something like that, or the City of Lost Gold, whatever, the new Dora the Explorer movie. I didn't know who it was for when I said I was watching the trailer, and I still don't know who it's for. Basically, so you're familiar with the Tomb Raider series, right?
Yes.
That was originally a video game.
Right.
And this movie felt like a video game movie. It was filmed in a 16:9 aspect ratio, which made it look like it was to release for television screens. Mm-hmm. And as I'm watching it, it's just like I'm sitting through it, and I'm just like, all right. So it starts off, you have Dora when she's a kid, and she's talking to her map and her backpack and whatever. And it's a live action movie, and they're basically saying is like, what are you talking to? And then these things are interacting with you in the slightest.
Right.
And the only time she ever interacts with this is when she's on this wicked wild spores trip, you know. But like then you see she's grown up. Her parents are explorers. They want to go find this new lost treasure that they've been looking for forever. They send Dora to school in L.A. So she goes from like northern South America. I think she was in Brazil, and she flies all the way to Los Angeles to be with her cousin Diego and the family, and just like. She basically is looking through this exhibit. She gets kidnapped, and then she gets brought back down to South America to try and look for that lost treasure with like her friends from Los Angeles. She doesn't fit in. There's like some jokes that they throw in about like, oh, could you say this term? And then like you see the dad who's played by Michael Pena. He's just like. He's looking around trying to figure out what she's talking to. And there's like little kind of joking scenes like that. But the movie, when it tried to make me laugh, it never really made me laugh. The only time I really ever laughed in the movie was when they did something so stupid. And also, seeing a Dora in theaters, there's kids everywhere.
Right.
So constant talking and crying and stuff like that.
Making noise, right.
Ugh. And just, I wanted to like this movie, but it literally made me just want to play the Tomb Raider games or the Uncharted games or something like that. And it wasn't something where like I really wanted to see. The only reason I saw it is because my friend kept saying, hey, you want to see Dora today? Hey, you want to see Dora today? Hey, you want to see Dora today? And I already made the commitment when we reviewed the trailer that, okay, I guess I got to see this movie. So I saw it. So you guys don't have to. It's an all right movie. I wouldn't pay to see it. It's not bad. It's not great. I don't know. I would see things as they have jokes more meant for adults that like only really adults would understand. So I don't think adults would go see a Dora movie. Then I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's for the kids that grew up with Dora. It's like trying to say like, hey, Dora grew up and so did you. She's growing up with you guys. But I watched Dora when I was a kid, and now me being
You're scarred forever.
But I'm 22.
Right.
And Dora's in high school in this movie. So
She didn't grow up.
she didn't grow up with me.
No.
So then I'm thinking of the generation that would be currently in high school, Paddington 3. Yes, I would see Paddington 3. But then you have the current generation that's in like high school, and I'm just like, I don't think they grew up with Dora though. Because when Dora aired, I'm pretty sure they were a little too young for that. I mean, these kids kids in high school now are born after 2000. They were born like 2004. So, which is weird to say, Jesus. But it's just like, so I don't think it's for them. It's not for me. It's not for adults. So who is it for? It's like I'm thinking maybe it's like the SpongeBob movie where your song is actually featured in a parody of it.
A parody of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but like that's a movie that was for kids with flares, so the adults could enjoy it. But it didn't make me laugh. My friend didn't really laugh at all either, but he really enjoyed the movie. And I'm just like, all right, so.
Well, and again, if somebody enjoys it, that means it's entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to turn off my brain for it too because I knew it's a Dora movie. You can't really like look at it analytically, but it's just like
maybe you analyze things too much.
I didn't analyze it. It's just a movie I didn't have fun during.
You didn't.
And
Okay.
when I go to a movie, my primary goal is did I have fun during it. I could acknowledge so many shortcomings of a movie or TV show if I just had fun. Like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's a movie I had fun watching because I'm just sitting there and I'm watching the movie and I'm just experiencing everything as it's happening. And it's just a movie. I saw it twice because I wanted. It's a really.
When did it come out?
It came out 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
In fact, on the 16th, it finally comes out internationally for everyone else.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it was just current too. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I saw it when it came out, and that movie was still about 2 hours and 45 minutes. So I had to go back and watch it again. Every Tarantino movie is a really lengthy movie.
Oh yeah.
So and actually, apparently, they're going to make like a 4-hour edit for Netflix.
Really?
And a super extended cut.
Wow.
Because what they did for the Hateful Eight, you had the Roadshow version, which was 70 millimeter in theaters,
yes.
and that was the full cut. And then you had the theatrical release, which was digital. And they did the Roadshow version in 4 episodes of this miniseries on Netflix, so it's more digestible.
Right.
Because the way the movie is filmed, or the way the movie is edited, is edited into chapters. But the thing is that this movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, isn't in chapters. So it's a lot of movie that just really, I don't know. I don't know how it would work. I'd rather watch it in full, but
Right.
that's just me.
So, would you rather watch a movie at home or in a movie theater?
It kind of depends on the movie. Like a Tarantino movie, if you see it in theaters with a bunch of like big fans of the director, it could be fun. Everyone's clapping and cheering with the movie and everything. And people actually clapped at the end of Dora, which I don't get.
Yeah, that's weird. I heard about that.
Yeah, that's just a weird thing. But like when I saw Deadpool, like that's the movie I got why people clapped at the end. I saw it a midnight release, like the first showing, and that's a movie everyone's been waiting for a long time for because Deadpool's a really loved character. And then people clapped at the end of the movie, and I get it because they did Deadpool really well. It was a really fun movie, and everyone had a good time with it. And that's the kind of movies that I enjoy. Is if it's a movie that I have fun with. If I enjoy being there and watching it, and I enjoy being with friends and seeing it. That's kind of like what Fast and the Furious is like. After the 4th or 5th one, it's just kind of a movie where you sit back with friends, you have a few beers, and you're just kind of watching it and turn off your brain and just laugh at the stupid shit going on screen.
Right, I see. Well, I mean, Nigel wants me to see and review the Fast Five for him.
Fast 5 that's such a dumb fun movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said. If you're gonna watch any of them, watch the Fast Five.
Yeah, that
Fast Five, actually,
Yeah.
not the.
That's just such an interesting series because it's just a progression of being a movie for car guys and then a movie car guys hate, but then everyone else loves. Because I was never like I was kind of a car guy, but I was never really a car guy. Like I enjoyed playing a lot of like kind of racing simulators and stuff like that, and like talking generally about like engine blocks and stuff. But it was never something that like I really was super enthusiastic about.
Right.
But so that's what I go to movies for: turn off my brain, have a good time. I mean, there's some movies that like really try to say something, and it's really kind of like a deep philosophical concept or whatever, and that I can enjoy too.
Yeah.
But like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a love letter to the age of Hollywood. to the golden age of Hollywood back in the 60s. In fact, Tarantino got permission to shut down Hollywood Boulevard for like 2 days at a time to just completely convert it back to the way it looked in the 50s and 60s. That's insane.
That's great.
Could you imagine, like, if you're that big of a movie fan and you're just able to do that, you have that much power to do that, and the power as a director to just ask someone to be in your movie, and he has a movie.
Did anybody say that it really looked like it was in the 50s, or was this
It looked like
his
it.
version of
Well, it was 1969 is when it took place.
Yeah.
The year of the Sharon Tate murder, Tate Bianca murders.
Right, of course.
But it was well done. It looked like it was back then. They had the cars they paid attention to. The music was obviously anachronistic. A lot of it was kind of Tarantino putting his playlist around.
Sure.
I mean, like, you have Django where he put rap in it.
Right.
Rap didn't exist back then.
No, not at all. Not even close.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It was just something. It was just a movie that I had fun seeing. But then Nigel, who thought it was like a bit too long, you're around with that kind of people. It's a movie where if you just want to go to the theater and have a good time, that's what it is.
Right, of course. I'll have to see that.
That's review number 2 of it. But we have 5 minutes left.
Okay,
Can you believe that?
One quick thing, we were talking about watching TVs and movies, and with the exception of seeing, my niece wanted to see Ready Player One.
Yes.
Ready Player One.
I saw the movie in theaters, and when I heard your song in there.
I hadn't been in a movie theater before that. When did that come out?
A year or two ago?
Right.
It's pretty recent.
So before that, I hadn't been in a movie theater in probably 30 years.
That's when you saw Star Wars, right?
What's that?
That was when you saw Star Wars?
No. I've been to a movie theater after that.
Okay.
It was probably, probably 20 years. I'm guessing. And I couldn't even remember what I saw. But I remember going to the theater with my brother-in-law and my niece, Kira, to see Ready Player One because she really wanted to see it. And she wanted us to go with us. Oh, I'll go. All right. I didn't hem and haw for her. I'll go. So it was interesting because it wasn't very crowded, and I'm used to what a movie theater was the last time I went to one. So I remember sitting in the seat and practically falling back. They're comfortable, they're big.
Yeah,
and
the recliners.
This is great. I mean, if I'm saying to myself, if the movie sucks, I could fall asleep easily here. Which I didn't. It was it was interesting.
They had that scene that was the homage to The Shining.
Yes,
that was so cool.
It was cool.
That's such a good movie. I need to read the book. I'm still reading Pet Sematary because I haven't had time. Because like how you don't have time to block out to watch.
The Shining you're talking about?
No, I'm reading Pet Sematary now.
Oh, Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
But you said you're going to read the.
I want to read The Shining. In fact, I have a queue right now. I'm reading Pet Sematary. Then I'm going to read The Exorcist. Then I'm going to read American Psycho. And then I want to go to either it or The Shining. One of the two.
Wow.
So I have a queue, but like you don't have time to block. You don't have 4-hour block of time to like watch movies or TV show or whatever. I have that time to watch movies and TV shows, but that means I can't read.
Oh, I gotcha.
And being someone who works with audio and video all day, I kind of prefer turning my brain off and reading.
I have to maybe edit that statement a little bit for myself because, of course, for the last, 15, 16 years, or maybe 14 years, TS traveled a lot. So I did watch shows and movies on planes. No snakes on planes, but I did watch movies on aircraft, and so I would watch a movie or a couple of TV shows, and that was it. Because sitting still, I'm so busy and I'm always moving, I fall asleep.
Yeah,
no matter what I'm watching. So, but yeah, it was great to see various shows like without commercials. Like The Big Bang Theory or Frasier or something. So you watch them on a plane, without snakes.
That's like a plane kind of show.
Yeah, it is.
Something to kind of turn your brain off.
Yeah, exactly.
But when talking about Ready Player One, I remember when I saw it, and the two songs I heard in the movie, I heard, I believe We're Not Going to Take It was in it?
Yeah.
Or was it I Want to Rock?
No, We're Not Going to Take It.
Because We're Not Going to Take It, yeah. I remember when that came on, I'm like, oh boy, that's a song I heard quite a bit. Not as much as you, obviously.
Oh, no.
That's a song I heard quite a bit. And then I heard Blue Monday by Orgy come on.
Yes.
And I'm like, man, of all the songs in the world.
Right.
So
to put in a movie.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, I'm back at work now. That was definitely a fun movie.
Anybody saying anything good?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan's basically just kind of chiming in. He says that he basically said that Tomb Raider light for Dora, and he said Ready Player One was a great movie. He really liked it. But yeah, I mean, overall, that's pretty much it for that stuff. I guess for what I've been watching, I saw The Boys. And I just been listening to music, and I've been trying to go back and finish Pet Sematary because I'm up to the part where it gets good, but I don't have time.
Oh, I know that all too well.
Yeah, but anyway, this has been 22 Jump Cut.
22 Jump Cut.
22 Jump Cut.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
It's amazing that my guest was supposed to be on tonight. Actually, couldn't make it at all because of a huge problem in his life. So I'll forgive him for this. Without a doubt, he has some problems going on.
He's a bit of a character. When you guys meet him, you'll get it.
Yeah. So, but thanks for tuning in tonight and dealing with myself and Steven here, talking about movies and events and things that meant something to us in life. And so it's always great stuff. And it all boils down to, is it entertaining? So
exactly.
Is it a are you a sports fanatic? Are you a NASCAR fanatic? Are you a movie fanatic, a TV show fanatic? Do you like, even TV evangelists? People watch it because they're religious and they believe in religion, but it's also entertaining. They have their own styles and they have everything. So whether you like stand-up comedy or anything, every game that you watch, if you like the team, even if you don't, if it's just the sport, it's entertaining. Yeah. And that's what's important. It really is. That's the important part. You're entertained, and it takes you away from the doldrums of everyday life.
Exactly. But thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Steve.
I am Mark.
You could find me on Facebook and Instagram and all that. Instagram and Twitter at Drakontas _, DRAKONTAS _. They could find you
on every single TS album.
Every TS album. And also on Instagram at Mark the Animal Mendoza.
That is correct. And what's the Facebook page one?
I believe it's Mark the Animal Mendoza Fan Club.
Is it?
Yeah, we try.
I don't know. I'm never on it.
I remember we were trying to change it back to just Mark Mendoza, and Facebook won't let us.
Why won't they?
I don't know.
Well, why don't you tell me? I'd have a talk with them.
Yeah, we got to go over there and just meet up with the Zuck himself.
Exactly. I'll take care of that. I'll have a talk with them. But I'm Mark Mendoza. Stephen May next to me. We will be back on next week with our regular scheduled programs.
And we're going to have a big week next week.
Big, huge shows. Anyway,
let you take that away.
I'll let Stephen walk in front first, and I'll say goodnight. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks, Gary, for tuning in. Thanks for everybody responding to the messages and stuff like that. So we'll see you next week.
Good night.